Another big day of racing coming up this weekend, and this time we're going to be heading out to Tampa Bay Downs to talk about a 4 stakes Saturday card with Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby points on the line. We will dive into those DRF past performances. I say me, Gino Bacola, my good friend Barry Spears, the sniper, and like always, we'll look at those DRF past performances. Remember, you can get DRF past performances for free with DRF Bets. So if you sign up for a DRF Bets account, use the promo code STAKES and then follow some of the instructions when you're signing up. They will give you a match deposit bonus of $200 right back. So your 200 turns into 400. Then they give you 10 free past performances right off the bat to start. We're going to be looking at the formulator card. And then every time you bet $50, you get another credit for formulator PPs. And Barry, right now, you're going to need a lot of credit because it's the time of the year where every weekend it's a different track having their big day or one of their big days where they'll have a big Kentucky Derby prep race or an Oaks prep race and a few stakes races. Last weekend, there were 4 different tracks that had them. This weekend, it'll be Tampa. Next weekend, it'll be Fairgrounds. Following that, it'll, I think, go to Oaklawn. And then the March the 2nd's another one of those big days where there's 3 or 4 different tracks. So this is, as a horse racing fan, it is my favorite time. Right as football winds down, you get these really great Saturdays, weekends where you have such big racing.
Yeah, it's this is what we live for as horse players, the Derby trails heating up and then all the big races at the prospective tracks where they have their big days and then you throw in the Pegasus too. That was a great day of betting and racing. So it it's just the excitement goes and the weather's getting warmer and everything. So everybody's excited, including me.
And Tampa is one of the tracks that you go out to a lot. I think you're going to be heading out there this weekend on Saturday for the big
Yes.
day. And so we decided let's have our focus be Tampa this weekend because they're going to be the center of attention for a lot of racing fans. There are 4 stakes races on the card. We're going to dive into them right now for Saturday, February the 10th. They start in race number 5. So we are going to look at races 5, 7, 8, and 10. We'll talk to you about all 4 of the stakes races on the card. And we'll start with the Suncoast. This is a Kentucky Oaks prep race. There are Kentucky Oaks points on the line in here, Barry. We'll have 2 horses that I think will take a lot of money. We can start with Life Talk, who's 3 to 5 on the morning line for Pletcher. She's a grade 2 winner. She was actually in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, and she did not run that poorly that day. She finished 4th. She was only beaten 3 lengths. She was behind Just FYI in back-to-back races. 2 of her 3 defeats, she's lost to Just FYI, and her other loss, she had by ahead in her career debut. So, she's honest. She's done well, but these are horses that we see at this time of the year in prep races like this, that if you are going to try to beat them, it might be now because Life Talk is a horse who you'd think they want to try to prime for the Kentucky Oaks. So this is just the starting point for her. This is step 1 of maybe 2 or 3 steps along the road.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely, in their plans as far as getting them to the Kentucky Oaks. And they catch a really weak field here. But, if you can find a way to beat Life Talk in this race, you're probably doing something good, especially, it being the start of a pick 4, pick 3s, things like that. If you can find a way to beat this horse, but I really couldn't.
She's going to be tough. Let me
Yeah.
try to talk you into one who I'm going to put in exotics with Life Talk, and I think is a little interesting in here. And that's the number 6 Gorgeous Girl
Yes. Yeah,
on the
that's what I was
outside.
gonna say. That was probably the only other horse I could see that has some potential
Upside.
to kind of upset the apple cart here because I mean, Life Talk on paper
She
looks
towers
like
over the
the
field.
only speed, right?
Yep,
I
and
mean,
towers over the field.
Managing Mischief has a lot of speed, but I don't know if she's fast enough.
And that's where I'm hoping with Gorgeous Girl is that I'm hoping Managing Mischief gets out front and maybe Gorgeous Girl can sit right behind and get a little bit of a jump on Life Talk if they get a little more patient with her, perhaps cutting back. She's coming out of some of the Aqueduct races where not sure if they were going quite as fast early on. I'm looking at the outside with Gorgeous Girl, And I'm just going through her progression, her races overall, and the progression she's shown. In her career debut, we can just eliminate that race going 5.5. She actually got money. She was favored that day. She comes back and she breaks her maiden, winning in her second start. She gets a little more distance. Then they put her on the grass in her third start. Just put a line right through it. Doesn't fire that day. Coming off of a couple month break, she's off from September to December. She shows back up against the boys, and she runs on December the 20th against boys that day. I thought she ran really well. She was facing a horse named Gott's Got It, and this is a horse who was dropping out of stakes races 3 in a row. He'd been against Stakes Company at Presque Isle, at Woodbine, and here at Tampa behind Patriot Spirit and Crazy Mason, a couple horses we're going to see in the Sam F. Davis. And remember, that was just her first start back in a couple months. She ran really well that day. She finished third. And then she comes back on January the 13th, and she chases Mystic Lake, who goes wire to wire. And Mystic Lake's a nice horse. Was coming from Woodbine, is a grade 3 place, multiple stakes placed horse. So she lost to a horse going wire to wire last time out. I thought she closed really well. And I'm hoping from a trip standpoint, she's in a good spot. She seems like she's improving, stepping forward. These are the types of horses who, in 2 months, she probably won't be anywhere close to as good as Life Talk. But if the Life Talk's away a little slow, if they don't get as aggressive here early and they let a couple of these horses get out front, that's the way you can beat a horse like this. And I'm hoping to see Gorgeous Girl sit in second maybe from the outside.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, like you laid it out, if the 5 Managing Mischief goes to the front, there is a situation where the 6 Gorgeous Girl could box in and
Yep.
make things a little bit tight
Exactly.
for
Something
Life
just
Talk.
like that, right? Just
Hmm.
the horse gets a little caught behind horses. Gorgeous Girl's right there, just kind of falls into it. Wasn't this the same sort of situation? Was it last year with Wonderwear?
Oh yeah,
When
Wonder Wheel.
and
Yeah.
when where they got beat coming off the long, like coming their
Hmm.
first start off the bench to a big long shot. I think the horse is running later on today.
Yeah, Dreaming of
Dreaming of
Snow.
Snow,
Hmm.
right? And so that's the type of situation I think you're looking for. I mean, Power Squeeze jumped up. It's always tough when a horse improves that much on the speed figures,
Yeah, it was
right?
dressed up. I think that horse was dressed up. That was a perfect trick win,
Yep.
and I think that might be an outlier figure. The horse that kind of I thought might be very, very interesting that you probably won't get too good of a price on is the 1 Who
Yeah,
Could Ask for Mo. I mean, just Shug's training patterns. This horse kind of fits the description because you see the horse started out in a 7 furlong race, and Shug really doesn't crank him up all that much to win first time out. Stretched him out at Tampa, and the horse won pretty good against a fairly weak field. But I think this horse has more speed than what the PPs kind of indicate.
I agree.
Um, and this horse might make it a little bit difficult for Life Talk early. If this was a bigger field, I would take more of a shot against Life Talk. But
But that
I,
because if you're worried when you have these smaller fields, less of the traffic and the trip issue comes into it.
yeah,
Right? Because
exactly.
you see these horses a lot of times in the smaller fields, the jockeys will ride them a little more aggressively, which is what you have to do. If you have a better horse, you don't want to have them distanced in a small field and you don't want to get them beat. You keep them in there and I've always been under that, the aggressive rides. You want
Yeah,
horses to pass you if you're the best. And I think that's what they'll try to do here too with keeping Life Talk in the race. But perhaps they're just, maybe a little short and we're worried about the next step and then the final step along the road. And Gorgeous Girl might be a horse who this is just an important race right now to win
right,
for
exactly.
Gorgeous Girl.
Yeah.
And at 10-1, we'll offer you some fair price third start off the bench. Lots of little things to like for one horse who will be offering you a fair value, local connections who win a ton here,
Mhm.
little positives along the way.
Yeah, if I'm Todd Pletcher, I'm telling Jose Ortiz just to go to the lead and go.
Yep.
Forget
I
the 5. Like,
Yeah,
just even if that horse goes with you, just go
go.
because you're better. You're better. I mean, Managing Mischief is stretching out for the first time, so they're going to be on the engine, um, or trying to go to the engine. But if Life Talk is as talented as his price they paid for him, he's probably better and will go to the lead. I would hope, but you never know. I mean, you don't know if Todd's like, you want to teach this horse something. We don't want to, if he wins, fine. If she wins, fine. But they may want to teach this horse how to rate.
One
But
of
we'll see.
two Kentucky Oaks points races this weekend. Santa Anita has one as well. Really looks like a 2-horse race there on paper with a couple of them in that one. Let's flip the page to the next stakes race at Tampa on Saturday. Race 7 is the Minaret. $50,000 sprinter stakes race. 6 furlongs on the dirt here, Barry. Horses that'll take money in this one. Dream Concert's been very honest and been in good form as of late. Chi-Town Lady is a grade 1 winner, won the test back in 2022, but she's got a real spotty overall resume. She races and then it has lots of gaps. So she's one that's tough to trust. And she doesn't really have a whole lot of early speed. So she might be a tough horse at a short price. She'll take some money. Unifying horse who actually we saw horses in the last few weeks that have faced Unifying recently. I think she'll take some support in there. Talk to us about race number 7 at Tampa on Saturday.
Yeah, at first glance, this race looks like it's loaded with speed, but I don't think so. And I'll tell you why.
I agree.
It kind of gives you the appearance that everybody wants to be forwardly placed, and I don't think that's the case necessarily. I mean, you have a horse in Poema who is a stablemate of the horse that I kind of like here, Dream Concert. That horse probably will be setting the pace here. Beyond that, it's kind of a toss-up. Maybe the 9 will go, but I don't think that horse is particularly that fast. But I think Poema is definitely going to be on the lead. I don't think Dreaming of Snow really wants the lead,
And I
especially
don't
on the cutback.
Yeah, I don't think she's that fast as some of these in here. I think that's just a little too much to try to ask of her. If she is close, I just don't think it'll be a positive
I
for
mean,
her.
if you look at her races,
Early she was fine. I just don't
yeah,
think she's as
she
fast as
just
that.
when she's the controlling speed, she could do it. But I don't think she's as quick as Poema or even Lady Radler.
And that's the horse who's a little interesting to me because I think she can sit a little bit off from where she's drawn and cutting back from 7. I like the races that she cuts out of, like the 2 back race in the Dogwood. Can she run like that again, where she's a length off, sitting the pace? You started pointing out Dream Concert, and I'll let you get back to her in a minute. My approach in here is I'm going to just play against the 2.
Yeah,
Chi-Town
I mean,
Lady.
yeah, I
That's
mean, with the pace scenario that we're laying out here now,
Yep.
it's really going to be tough for that one to win unless she's
And the
just
spots in
far superior, and she doesn't get to the races often. She does run well when she's on the track, but
she's
man, she
fair.
just doesn't win.
No, and with her running style, with the short price that she will be, my approach in this race in multis, I'm going to use the 1, the 3, and the 4. I think, and the long shot who I'm a little intrigued by is the 7 because of the speed that we're talking about with Paco aboard. This horse might not be as good as a lot of this field, but if she catches a flyer from out there and maybe the 1 takes back a little bit and tries to sit behind, I just think she might be forwardly placed in this race, and that could really help her in a race where we don't think there's that much. Paco aboard, she could be up front. So I'll probably use combos of those ones I mentioned, 1, 3, 4, and 7, as you wanted to hit more on the 1.
Yeah, I think this horse is just, kind of, you can see the steady progression in this horse's, trajectory. If you take those 2 turf races out this summer at Saratoga and Monmouth, you can see this horse improving just bit by bit. Not
And
really sure
remember,
why they
money's
tried to
gold
experiment with the turf, but
in that race when she lost by 18 lengths. The winner won by
yeah, I
17.
mean,
The
yeah,
winner won by 17 and a
and she
quarter
was
that day.
second. She was second.
She was
So,
good. Yeah.
um, I was there that day. I've seen all of this horse's races,
She's
and
honest.
he's very, very honest from the jump. I picked her that day on Tampa Bay Derby Day when she broke her maiden, and the sky's been going up ever since. Even the last race, going 2 turns, she ran a hell of a race and just got nailed late. Um, and I think the cutback helps this horse as well as having the stablemate as the table setter. So that horse I'm definitely going to use. Probably Dreaming of Snow also, who could rate a good trip behind Poema the same way she did on December 9th, in that $100,000 claimer at Tampa, no less, going 7. Um, I'm not really sure that 6 is really this horse's best distance, although she's won, but she was far superior than the horses that she ran against when she was running 6. I'll give her a shot here because it could set up for her.
Yeah, because you know what? Think about how the horse is right next to her, right?
Hmm.
Not as fast, not nearly as fast. They're not going to be up close, Unifying or Chi-Town Lady. So she doesn't even have to really go fast to probably be able to secure herself a nice spot
And
just
exactly.
behind the leaders. I don't feel like I'm as worried about her from the rail as I might with some others, or if there were faster horses right next to her that might push her a little bit. But she should get out in front of both the 1 and the 2, and whatever she wants to do with horses like Lady Rattler and Flag Woman and Poima, then she'll be able to sort of pick her path there, right? Am I going to go, or do I want to track, in that second flight?
Yeah, and my fear as a horse player is that Dream Concert will probably go off favored. Um,
Yeah, I can see
so
that.
that kind of throws me away, or kind of gives me a pause for cause, uh, with Dream Concert, especially breaking from the rail, which isn't the best place to be. Gallardo's going to have to get this horse out, but not full out to the lead where they're setting the pace. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a tough situation. So Dreaming of Snow actually rates a kind of a better trip than what Dream Concert will get. And I'm also with you with Flag Woman because that one can just fall into a decent trip given what may play out.
The horse who I made a note to bet back. I'm going to throw her into a pick 4, but I don't know if this is the exact right spot. Is Unifying. She had legitimate trouble last time out in that Mary Quite Contrary race that we talked about
Hmm.
last month. And she had a good start. She was just behind the leaders. Then she got caught. She got shuffled back. She had nowhere to go. She was all the way back to last in that field
They
of
have needed
6.
the race too.
Yeah, and it was she hadn't run since June. She just There's a couple of races where she's shown a little more speed, but she really isn't that fast early. Like, she wants to be more sitting. And so that would be my only concern in here, because we're mapping out a race where we're not exactly sure if they're going to be going at it. I could see 3 or 4 horses just being content with where they're placed early.
Yeah, I mean, Unifying showed speed going a distance mostly. I mean, other than the
Now,
maiden
yeah, that
breaker,
because the maiden races are tough because
right?
when against sometimes, like we were saying,
Just be better. You
you
could just
feel
be
like you're
better.
better and you just
Yeah,
send them, but that's probably not where she can beat good horses
correct.
doing things like that.
Yep,
But
that's exactly how I see it.
she's nice and she's honest, and I think she's going to have a nice year and some nice races coming up. I'll probably throw her in a spot because if she is 4-1, 9-2 in a pick 4 in this race, in your third or fourth choice, that's not bad. I like a couple of the others more that we were talking about. I kept coming to get into Lady Rattler, hoping that we could eliminate the last race because that was the one that sent her to the bench for a little. The
Hmm.
Presque Isle race on the synthetic, toss that one, toss the turf. And now all of a sudden, you've got a grade 3 win here. You've got the nice win here in a stakes race at Prairie Meadows. You've got, a couple races last year in stakes races behind Darth Vader and Key of Life that are not bad. So my only concern would be, you're getting almost to like 4 months now with the
Yeah,
layoff, so that's 2 months, 2.5. I don't get too worried with certain horses in layoffs, but now once you start getting into that 61 to 180 day range, that's a little more to where I could see this horse maybe being a little short, but um,
yeah.
I
I'm
think,
gonna I'm gonna throw in Poema as well because there's a situation where that horse can get loose,
and
and
she's also sat off a little
and
bit
she's
too
right. She's formidable, but I think the idea is for that horse to go to
to
the front.
go.
Um, and there's a situation where that horse can shake loose
Absolutely.
and really give it a go. Because the 9 is kind of the wild card here. What are they going to do? I mean, the horse isn't particularly that fast, but could get in the way.
And have
And
to go.
right. And I don't know if that horse is actually fast enough to actually get the lead here unless they let that horse go. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Poema rates probably a better shot than what the morning line maker gave.
Let's go to race number 8. This one is the Pelican, $100,000 6 furlong stakes. We have some nice horses in here, some accomplished horses. You have Sibelius, who won this race last year and then went on to win the Golden Shaheen in 2023. And most recently was pretty impressive in the Mr. Prospector and earning a nice 95 buyer speed figure winning that day. I do think there's a pretty good amount of speed in here, though, for a horse like Sibelius who wants to be forwardly placed. As you look at horses like Mish, who's pretty quick, Super Ocho has just one way to go. Dr. Oscar doesn't really want to sit off at all. And from the rail, Hurricane J has to go, and with that rail draw. So you have, I think, at least 4 horses who are going to be pushing it. And when you have Nakatomi, who's making his first start of the year, another situation where I'm looking at a horse like him, maybe he's a tad short. Maybe they're trying to get him primed for bigger and better. So I was looking for a horse that was not necessarily one of those. I think I kind of worked my way out to Carmel Chip, who's not nearly right as good as some of these, as maybe as talented overall, but damn, this horse loves to win and should probably get a really nice trip.
Yes.
And
Yeah. I mean, you got to think. I was really questioning the morning line here with them making Nakatomi 9-5 favorite. This horse doesn't really win all that often either.
super honest.
And needs a trip. You know what I mean? Needs some pace to run into, which, he's gonna get, but hasn't run since November. You kind of think, maybe this isn't the one they want to win. I see the horses here. It's $100,000 stake. It's not a grade 1. It's not a grade 3. You got to think that this is a tune-up for something else.
Yep, something at Keeneland probably next month. Something, I don't know what, for Sibelius, they're going to hope to go back to Dubai for him.
I think that's the plan, actually.
Yep. And so he will hope to get another prep under his belt and then ship on out there. But getting to Carmel Chip, who is no doubt a horse who's been running against softer company when you compare to the rest of this field. But if you look at what this horse has done recently, so January 8th of 2023, dropped all the way down for 8,000 and was in for 8 and won. And then after that, 2 races in a row, lost to a horse named Concrete Glory in a starter. Concrete Glory is an 11-time winner who was in the middle of a 3-race win streak and had won 6 of 8. Really sharp horse overall. So let's just keep going through what this horse has done over the last 13 months or so. The 2 losses to Concrete Glory. Following that, 1, 2, 3, 4 wins in a row. Against much softer, but always sitting just off the pace, within striking range, looming up, in hand. All these races could have won by as much as they wanted. Then at Monmouth, June 25th, every time he loses, when you look at the horse that he loses to, it's a horse who's in incredible form.
In great form.
Bodie's Maker is a 14-time winner, and Bodie's Maker was in the middle of a big win streak. The 3rd and 4th place finishers were also next out winners in that race. So looking at Roses and Rough Sea, both came back to win their next start. After the Bodie's Maker race, July the 23rd, he runs into a horse named Colonel Bowman at Saratoga. Colonel Bowman is a 10-time winner who is in the middle of winning 7 out of 8 at this point. He just is facing all of these really tough horses at these low protected starter allowance levels because those horses just know where they fit. They're really nice. They're really honest. He runs into Ever So Mischievous in a first level allowance race. And following that one, Ever So Mischievous goes on to win a stakes race at Churchill, the grade 2 49er, and was actually favored in the Cigar Mile at Aqueduct didn't fire that day. It was on a muddy track, so you could just eliminate that race. Just go race by race for Carmel Chip. Is he as good as some of the others? No, he hasn't. He hasn't proven it against Graded Stakes Company, but he shows up every time and fires. And when he loses, it's always to these really sharp, really honest horses, like a Salt Shaker was a horse who he lost to a couple starts back at Keeneland. That's a 12-time winner who was in the middle of winning 5 out of 6. Just great form that this horse has been in, and I think he could fall into a really nice trip in here, Barry.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what's going to keep his price high or higher on the higher side is those wins on the sloppy track. You know, you see those 3 wins that he has on a sloppy track, and people are going to say, "Oh, well, you know, he's probably just a wet track horse." So it's not going to be wet on Saturday, that's for sure.
Nope.
And they may discount this horse, but I think this horse rates a good shot. If Sibelius is anywhere near 3-1, I may empty every cent I have on him. But I think he's probably going to end up favored or really
They would.
close
I
to
think I could
favored.
see them flipping, like Sibelius at
Yeah,
9-5 and Nakatomi at 5-2,
just
3-1.
because of running style. You know, closers
Exactly.
are hard to get to. In especially in races like this, it's 6. If it was
6
7,
furlong. It'd be
I
different.
would feel a lot better. You know that Nakatomi's probably going to fire a good shot, but at 6, the horse is 1 for 7 at 6 furlongs. It doesn't seem to be his best distance, albeit this field isn't the greatest, but you still have some horses that can burn it up front,
Yeah, some
and
speed. So that's the key.
yeah, um, but you know 9-5 seems awfully short, especially with Sibelius in this field,
Very
who's
short.
very formidable, doing the same thing he did last year. Went to the Mr. Prospector, going to this race, and then probably going to Dubai. Um, so if I get anywhere near 3-1, it's go time on Sibelius.
A horse who's interesting to me in just because last year he threw in some good races is
Little
Little
Vic,
Vic,
yes,
right? And
that's
it
the other
almost
horse.
looks like that Tom Fool just took something out of him. You know,
Maybe,
he had that stretch of races in a row between 3 or the Laurel race and then at Aqueduct and the Toboggan and the Tom Fool, really good races. And then the Carter, he just doesn't fire. And the last couple really wasn't the same. But now he's got plenty of time off. He starts this year, and he's shown us that he can sit off a little bit, which could be really
beneficial.
impactful in this
Yeah.
race, right?
Mhm.
If he's sitting third, just like he did in that Tom Fool race, and he lets a couple of them go, he's classy enough. He might just need the benefit of one race for a better effort, but I have no problem throwing him in pick 4s if he's in the 5-1, 6-1 range.
Well, look at where he went after that Tom Fool win. Grade 1,
Against
grade
top
2,
company, right?
right? And he's clearly not good enough to beat
No, he's not
the
that good.
likes of Elite Power or Gunite.
Nope.
But this field is something that this
Well,
horse
I mean,
can
he beat
handle.
Nakatomi.
Right.
Perfect example in the
Exactly.
Tom Fool. That this is the type of race where he can win, and because of his running style, he can beat a horse like a Nakatomi because he can
Absolutely.
get the jump on him. So if you are looking at this race and thinking maybe it will set up, maybe you want to throw a little Vic in at 6-1 in some of your pick 4s, pick 5s, however you're playing the
Yeah.
fun Saturday card.
Playing multis, I would use the 6, 7, and 8.
Yep. Let's continue along to the feature race on Saturday. Kentucky Derby points up for grabs in the Sam F. Davis. And Locked was a horse who was supposed to be running in this race. He got sick. It shouldn't be anything too serious. I think they're just going to reroute him to a different race coming up in the next few weeks. But I do think because of Locked not in this race, it's actually a more interesting race from a
True.
betting standpoint, because I did hear that there were 3 or 4 horses that may not have run, and they decided to because they felt like it's a little more wide open. They could probably get some points. Agate Road is a turf horse trying the dirt. We see horses like this all the time in the early parts of the Kentucky Derby season, where they want to see if they're good enough to get some Kentucky Derby points here. If they are, then they can take another shot in a dirt prep race or 2 along the way. If not, they know they're fine on the grass. They can go right back to it. So they'll get a roll here, Agate Road. And Change of Command, those are probably the top 2 that'll go as your top 2 betting choices in here. Change of Command has been pretty sharp in the last 2, looking for 3 in a row. Barry, he's lost to a couple nice horses in Fierceness and Sierra Leone, and he's in really nice hands for Shug McGahee. So those are the 2 from a talking standpoint to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. The races, that's where you would start. I mean, Agate Road, I just don't like at all in this spot or on
Totally
dirt.
playing against him. Me too.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
He'll
he
just be
he
too
ran
short
against
for his win chances. Can he win this race?
sure.
Absolutely. He's the type of horse who I'd want to be 6 or 8 to 1 in a race like this, though, as a wild card. And
Hmm.
he's going to be 5 to 2 or below.
Exactly. Yeah, probably less than that. Probably closer to 2 to 1, nine
Yep.
to five
And
ish.
wouldn't even shock me anything lower than that, honestly,
Yeah,
with these connections.
yep. And I don't think they're really gonna bet any of these horses really down hard. I mean, I could see a situation where Change of Commands, 9 to 5,
I
and
agree with you.
Agate Road's 2 to 1,
Yep.
or
And
maybe
then
even five to
everybody
two.
else is 6 to 1 and above.
Right, and then that's what we want to see as horse players because I don't really like either one of those horses to be honest.
Well, you know
I
what's
think it
funny? I was just reading an article in DRF, and that's why the blinkers are coming on, change of command. And Shug McGahee was mentioned. I think Dave Grenning wrote it, and he said, I don't like the way this horse finishes, which I did. I thought it just stood out to me like, whoa, okay, that doesn't sound great. But he pointed out he thought that in his last race, he was going to win easily
going away and he didn't.
and
Yeah,
he
and
makes it harder on him than he should. And so that's something to note with a horse that has some speed, hasn't really come from more like off the pace at all, and he's going to be a short price.
it's funny because that day me and Chuck were texting, and he said the same thing. He's like, "Well, the horse looked like he was just gonna blow this field away, and he just kind of didn't. He
Yeah.
just kind of stopped, and it really didn't look like the horse was kind of looking around. Because usually you'll see horses' head kind of move towards the stands or to the infield when they're kind of just playing around. Didn't really see that. So it was kind of bizarre that this horse didn't finish with authority, and it does a little bit of a concern. I see they're obviously breaking out the blinkers so this horse can correct that. But man, I don't know. There could be some horses here that have some upside, especially the 7 Copper Tax. He really caught my eye, um, mainly because the surface at Aqueduct is real deep and he may not have liked that track, especially in the mud. It's probably a lot deeper than what you would want, especially a horse that likes wet tracks. Has 2 wins at Delaware on muddy surfaces.
He's a
But
must use to me if you in any sort of late exotics. I think
right,
you have to use him.
but has the speed to compete with these horses. Same thing with Fulmineo, and I like this one better. A because of the price, but B because he came back running. And especially on the dirt because there was some question marks here. I had the question mark. I actually had the winner in that race, um, but I thought Fulmineo was a little bit over bet. But the horse proved that he can handle the dirt and will probably kind of come out of that
Improve.
race and improve. And at 15 to 1 is worth a shot in a race like this where it could be a little bit chaotic because
Well, I
is
mean, look,
Change of
think about
Command really want the lead here? I
and think.
probably
Look,
not.
he was not far behind Agate Road on the turf. And he has the benefit of a recent dirt race under his belt
Right.
versus Agate Road, whose dirt race came early in his career in a race that was taken off the turf. I
It
think
wasn't
the
that good.
jury is out on us knowing if he likes the dirt or not, the 6, right? I think
Yes.
we could say we don't know. At least we know now that Fulmineo has a good effort over this track on the dirt
Hmm.
recently. I would absolutely throw him in
Yeah.
to exotics. I'm playing this race, I think, similar to how you are, where I'm going to probably go 4 or 5 deep with some of that, the next tier of prices and not the top 2. Um,
And
ones
funny
that I
enough,
wanted. Go ahead.
one horse that I just don't like is West Saratoga.
Me neither. Actually, it's funny. He's not on
And
my.
he's just dressed up. His 2 wins, the Iroquois and that maiden win, were so dressed up. I mean, got perfect trips both times. Ran pretty good, I guess, against Bookham Dano, who kind of ran off, and that was a good starting point. But unless this horse falls into a perfect trip, I don't see this horse winning this race. And I guess there's a possibility that the horse could fall into a perfect trip, but I'm not sure that this horse made the jump from 2 to 3 either. So there's like two things that this horse is going up against, being dressed up in those perfect trip wins and then not improving from 2 to 3. And that just doesn't spell like a good spot for this horse. And I've seen people actually kind of rate No More Time higher, but I don't have any confidence in that horse either. I
The
mean,
two that I wanted to mention is the 5 and the 2, who I'm going
mhm,
to throw into some pick fours. So I think if
sure.
you go through No More Times, at first off, I don't think he'll be 10-1. I'd be shocked. He'll be
Yeah, he's
he'll
going
be
to be
half that.
way less
You
than
know,
that. Yeah,
five
maybe
five.
4 to 1.
Yeah, I was going to say that makes more sense. His win was a good one at Gulfstream, and then in the Mucho Macho Man last time out, he was the rail horse, and he just did not have the best of starts. And that was the first time in his career where he was this far back. It was just totally different. You see, he hops, he breaks inside, and he just takes a bit. Then they have to get him all the way to the outside, and he's 5-6 lengths behind. And in his first 2 races, he was a length behind and 2 lengths behind at the most. So this is a totally different ball game for him in here. And I was willing to eliminate the race. What I thought was kind of interesting, though, so he's not even on the picture right now. He's off the page, and you're gonna see him make a big wide move all the way up to contend. And that's what I liked, is that he did show something here. He
Hmm.
just ran from the back to get all the way up wide into contention, and then he was done.
Basically loop the field, the loop and swoop and and the
Yep.
stop, because he kind of expended all his energy. And that's what young horses do. I mean, that's how they learn. How they learn to run.
Yep.
And now I would hope that without the bad break, this horse is probably going to be a lot more, uh,
Just forward
yeah,
tracking
more
in
forward.
between.
Right, exactly. Get a way better trip than that one.
And the race came back okay. The Mucho Macho Man, we think of Othello and Inveigled, who were in the Holy Bull, but keep in mind, First World War, who was in that race, came back and won the Kitten's Joy on the turf. And he's just a nice horse overall. So I think it was a solid group that he faced. I think he could get a really nice trip in here, as we're pointing out. He's going to make his second start back. He was planning on running last week in the Holy Bull. They ran in this spot. They felt it might be a little bit softer. That's probably true, that it's just a little more less proven with some of these horses. Fierceness didn't run well, but on paper, it was more difficult of a spot. The other one for me would be the 2, Tireless.
Hmm.
His first 2 starts were on the turf. Actually, there's First World War again, who I was just pointing out. He beat him in that first start. Then he ran into a good group at Keeneland from out wide. He drew post 10 that day, and he just got hooked wide all the way around. He was favored in the race that Frontline Warrior won, and we saw, I think, 3 next out winners come out of this race. Edgartown, who was actually behind First World War in the stakes race over the weekend. Real Men Violin, who is a runner-up in the Kentucky Jockey Club also. So strong company that he faces in his first 2 turf starts. Then he moves to the dirt at Churchill, going a mile and an eighth. He's second that day by a horse named Rogel, who's another one who's not bad and has shown some ability. Rogel, after breaking his maiden, went on to finish third behind Change of Command in that race at Gulfstream Park. So I'm just looking at some of the foes that he faced, and what I like is he put it all together last time out. And with speed figures, he's just a cut below. So I don't think he's going to get bet in this race. As we pointed out, he's in the tier with the other players below. And he's a fun horse for me to throw into the pick 4, because he could sit a really nice trip. He's proven at Tampa, going just about this trip right now. And I think he'll save ground and sit not far off the lead. So my approach, throw in some of these 6 to 10, 15 to 1 shot horses. That's how I'm going to approach the Sam F. Davis, because I don't think either of the two short prices has to win this thing.
No, I agree, and I think Tireless actually rates probably better than the stablemate Agate Road. Even though, I mean, look at how much they paid for Tireless. They paid more money,
And I was going to say,
875K.
look at the two in this race
Yeah.
between Agate Road and Ty. Was a nice 1.5 million right there between those two.
Yeah, it's
Running in
wild,
here.
man.
Yeah.
And Change of Command is, $1 million horse himself. So it's just it's really bizarre, and honestly, I think the board will probably kind of guide me a lot more, um, to see how they're betting this race, because I mean the morning line may be a little bit off, because I'm not really sure how Patriot Spirit is really going to be received, because he's basically on paper looks like he's going to want the same trip that Change of Command is going to get. And I don't know if that's really conducive for him or for this race the way it shapes up. Um, and a horse like Fulmineo, to me, will most likely get ahead of a lot of the nonsense, even though he's going to be wide into that first turn. He still is going to get clear and probably have a decent shot. Whether he can finish is another story, because obviously you see this horse ran on the turf, ran well on the turf, kind of jumped up on in a spot that was a little bit softer, but it's still kind of iffy. You got to demand your price. If Fulmineo is probably around 6 to 1, I don't want any part of him. So that's why I say the board might be the clue, because if Tireless ends up 8 to 1, that's probably where I'm going to go.
I think there's some really fun options in this
Yeah,
race.
I'm not taking a favor in this race at
No,
all. No way.
no way. Barry, you are one of my favorites, my good friend. Talk to everybody about what's going on with going in circles with Big Mondays and everything you have going, where they can find out a little more what's on your mind with Chuck.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Derby Trail's heating up, and so is the content for us. So, we're probably going to get more guests. Like I said last week, we're definitely going to get Gino on there, at least once, if not more than that, if he's available.
Anytime.
But we're gonna talk about the Derby Trail and those races that are coming up, and then things are changing within the industry. There's some pressure going on with the Jockey Club and things like that, and Mike Rapoli's getting in the mix. So there's a lot going on, and hopefully, when it's all said and done, and we go towards the end of the year, we're heading in the right direction. That's really where we want to be. But we're going to talk about it and discuss it the whole way on our show.
Barry, buddy, thanks again for joining us and talking some Tampa. I hope you have an awesome day out there on Saturday. Good luck to you with all of your
Oh
wagers.
yeah, it's homeboy alone. I'm going by myself, so
Oh, beautiful.
yeah. So that doesn't happen quite that often too much anymore. So it should be a fun time, and the weather's going to cooperate. I get to wear shorts again, so yeah, I'm going to have a good time on Saturday for sure.
Always love chopping it up with you, my friend. Let's crush it this weekend. Good luck to all of you playing the races at Tampa. Thanks so much for hanging out with us again. I will also be looking at races from Gulfstream and Santa Anita this weekend. If you need some extra help and you want to check out That's What G Said podcast. And for you contest players, don't forget about the Ultimate Betting Challenge. That's one of the next big contests you want to try to qualify for. That one is on Saturday, March the 2nd. That awards 4 prize packages to the 2025 NHC. So you can start qualifying for that right now with all of these feeder games at ExpressBet. So they have the tournament schedule there. You can always check them out. And right now they're $40 feeder games that will try to get you into a $600 contest. And then from there, you can get into the $6,000 contest. Because I never like to try to play the big entry fees. I'm always going to try to win my way in from the smaller ones. And I think that's how most people are, like us, Barry, that are watching, that are listening to those. That's how it's a fun way to get into those contests, when you're able to win your way in like that and feel like you're getting almost a free roll playing in the big money games. So check those out. If you ever have any questions, I'd love to talk with you. So would Barry, and we'll be back next week, probably talking some maybe some, is it Gulfstream or Fairgrounds? One of those two. Maybe it might be
Fairgrounds.
Fairgrounds that has a big one. So maybe we'll dive into those stakes races again, take a look at the next crack of Kentucky Derby prep races coming up. Good luck, everyone, this weekend. We'll talk to you again real soon, right here on That's What G Said. And we're talking with Barry Spears.